And you're welcome back. It's still this morning live on Metrotvgh. So we take a look at the weather report, but when we come back, I'll be here with one nice doctor. We are talking about the spine, posture. And in men, do you know that even posture can affect your libido? Take a look at this weather report. We'll be back. And there you have the weather report for the next 24 hours. So wherever you are, take the cue from this and step out looking healthy and safe. So I've been joined in the studio by Dr. Metrotvgh, and we are going to talk about posture effect on the spine. And this is going to be an interesting conversation. Good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome.
Thank you.
I like your smile. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, we are talking about posture in the spine. And even before we talk about that, you were telling me behind the scene that men, it could affect your libido.
Why does that interest you more than anything else?
Let's start with the posture in the spine.
Well, yes. I wanted to bring to the knowledge of viewers that our posture is really important, and because it's the window to our spine. It actually tells us the state of the spine. And why would anyone be interested in the spine? You may ask. There's nothing like a spine transplant. And the spine is the motherboard that harbors all the nervous system that's coming in from the brain and distributes it to all the areas in your body.
Entire body, yeah.
Exactly. So if you have any distortion in the spine, then it's bound to affect the nervous system, which would eventually affect all the other organs too. So, I mean, no offense to my other colleagues, but when a cardiologist is raving about how the heart is going and on, I'm like, well, if the nerve is not really supplying it, then what job have you got to do?
Okay, shade right there, but it's all fine.
I know, yes. So there are various ways. I mean, when someone is asking about what good posture is, usually we talk of it has to be in a neutral position. And most people are a bit confused as to what a neutral position is. But then again, I would want us to start with what actually bad posture is. Because sometimes it's good to look at it from the negative and then zooming into the positive. Now, there are various forms of postures. There are various things that bring on board bad postures. Sometimes people ask, can you be born with a bad posture? And well, I mean, there isn't really good research to indicate that. But sometimes it's the way in which we carry the babies, how we nurture them, what happens to them during their childhood is actually what may cause them to have bad posture in their adult years. So we have those who usually, I mean, I'm looking at you right now and I'm like a bit concerned because it looks like you have, not really, you have rounded shoulders.
So like this?
Yes. Do you get back pain?
Yeah, I do.
In around the neck region, right? Because you're more like seated like that. I know you need to be on camera and look good and everything, but it will be best, yes, it will be best to just raise your shoulders, level them out a little bit more. And then there are those who are always on their phone. And technology is good, but somehow it's come in to really have their effects on health, especially with posture. Now we have a term called text neck, which not used to be. So when people are really looking at their phones and always have their heads bent down, they are causing a lot of issues to their backs. And then we have what we call the sway back. Now the sway back usually, that one came on in around the 80s. When men and guys were trying to act,
and all
swag,
that,
and put themselves in a slouch position. Now it's actually slouching that affects the sex hormones. I mean, I know that's what.
Forgive me, but I'm interested in that.
There's just some research out there that when you slouch, it increases your cortisol levels, which now reduces your sex hormones, and then reduces your libido.
So the more you act like this,
you act swag and keep moving. I mean, maybe we're having issues in bed.
Okay.
And for the women, I mean, with stilettos coming on, high heels, and especially my bankers out there, I would want to tell you, like, if you have the opportunity to go in just an inch lower, it will be the best.
Yeah.
Because when you do have that constant tilt in the pelvis, eventually affects childbearing.
But do they even have to be wearing the heels all day?
Well, I mean, I think sometimes it's the corporate requirements
for
them to look.
Because I know that sometimes you can be behind the seat at the office without a heel. But when you are getting up to work, then
I do know some people who make those changes, but there are also those who do not make those changes at all. So usually I would say that if you have the opportunity, you get to work, you need to be in the stilettos to walk around, you could do so. But when you're behind your desk and you're focusing on what you've got to do, maybe you could go for an inch block. Don't go for flats. Don't go for flats. You can go
flats
for
also has its own complications?
That quick change keeps giving issues to the pelvic region. So if you need to move from a very high heel, just go in to maybe half or
so
a
little by little.
Little by little. You know, just ease it a little bit on the lumbar spine. So that's basically what I would have to say with its effect a little bit on the mechanical issues when it comes to postural defects. Now, many people keep asking, how do I know if I have bad posture? Is it only when maybe, to say it in a local language, someone is walking behind you and says, hey, watch here.
Watch here, yeah.
Not really. I mean, you can test it yourself.
But the moment someone is bent, or let me say tilted, whether to the left or right, does it always have to be the case of scoliosis?
No. Sometimes it could be just because you're having spasms in your back. The muscles have tightened up because you engage in something they're not really quite happy about it. So when in that instance, you will look tilted, but to determine scoliosis, you've got to take like an X-ray for us to really see if there are any curvatures in the spine.
All right.
So back to how to test if you have any issues like with your posture by yourself. You find a mirror. I mean, it can be a bathroom mirror. Nobody's got to be there with you. And then look into the mirror at yourself. Behind you, find something that you could use as a reference point. So for me, for example, I'll use the screen and maybe use the black bar as my reference point. And then you close your eyes and march in place and count it to 20. Now, immediately you open your eyes, check to see if your shoulder, an imaginary line running through to the top, running on top of your shoulders, are in line with your reference point. Check to see if your head is tilted to one side more than the other. Or maybe just check to see whether you can see that you are slouched when you are looking at it from the side view. All of this will give you an indication that you've got something going on. And all you've got to do is as simple as correcting it and keep doing that until it becomes a habit, and then you start correcting these things. Because, you know, you may have bad posture now, you may take an X-ray, may not really show much, but then about 5-10 years down the line, then it will start showing its physical effects on the spine via X-ray. So technically that's...
Okay, all right, but then how long will it take for me to be able to correct how crooked I have become due to my slouching or, you know, trying to talk and walk like it?
Well, what I say, it's not like a disease in itself that has a timeline, because, right, I mean, I could show you a few things you could do. It becomes a habit. If you stick to that habit, you are bound to know that you're not going to cause any more damage to your spine. But if it's something that you do momentarily for maybe like 2 months, and then afterwards you just go back to your old ways, I mean, then invariably you're not going to do much to it. So it bears on you or behoves on you to make a conscious effort to always assume a good posture all the time. That you can.
I wish you could show me what good posture in the spine really looks like. I don't know if this can help, but if
well, I mean, when you put it down, you made it a little bit crooked. So.
Yeah, I was trying to gauge how could spine looks like. So I have to.
Yes. Anyway, I mean, this is a human-sized model for spine, so it could be maybe yours. When we talk about a neutral spine, it's you engaging in any activity that still has your spine in this posture when you look at it from the side view. And then also when you look at it from the back, it's supposed to be in line. It has this vertical straight line. And I mean, sometimes the best way, or when we are doing scoliosis screening in kids or postural assessments, we have people bend down, touch their toes just for us to assess from the back. to see if that divot, you know, there's this groove in your back, whether it's in line or you have any curvatures on the side. Now that has become really quite important because with COVID, many people are sitting at home. Yeah. Those doing work, I would advise stand by a wall. Have your butt touch the wall. Have your back or your thorax or your torso touch the wall. Your head touch the wall. Ensure that your shoulders are touching the wall.
I'm doing that invisibly.
Thank you. And then move. Exactly. Initially, some people feel like they are walking like robots.
Yeah, that's I mean,
but you know, interestingly,
like
when you assume that posture, no one sees you as walking as a robot.
And it's on a screen. So if you're home and you're wondering how or what to do, as you mentioned, let your butt touch the wall.
Let the butt touch the wall. Let the shoulder touch the wall. Let the head touch the wall, and then you move forward. So that posture that you feel yourself being in, that's what you need to be in.
Okay, so you have to try and maintain that posture.
You need to try and maintain that posture. Now the interesting thing about the brain is as you keep doing that, now it begins to assume that to be the right way in which you, or the posture that you want to be in, and then eventually you're able to correct it in that manner.
That's an interesting one, but you know, habit, mentality, and all that comes into play, and all contributes to how we'll be able to stay healthy concerning our posture and even our spine and all that. Let's talk about the things we eat.
Well, I'd want to mention something though.
Okay, go on.
Now, maintaining that posture that you are now assuming will take a myriad of things, and I'm happy that you mentioned about diet. Okay. But it's not only about diet. Muscles. I mean, without muscles in your, around your bones, I mean, you'll be like a skeleton. There's nothing really holding you up. But then the integrity of your muscles dictates the state of your spine. Okay, the integrity of your, that's just good right there. The integrity of your muscle defines the state of your spine. Exactly, because if you are right, for example, most right-handed people tend to use the right more often than the left. So if you keep using that and your right becomes more dominant, muscles become more, strengthened on the right side, that could cause a distortion in the spine in itself because it will pull on it, because the muscles attach the sides of the spine, they do not cross over it. Okay. So if you use your right more, there's that tendency for you to pull on the spine, and that could cause a kink like that, just to exaggeratively express it. A bit like this? Exactly. Like this? Yes. So to maintain it, you also need to be very much focused on the bones, and then the muscles rejuvenate and restore their function. So if you are eating good balanced diet, getting your magnesium, calciums in there, potassiums in there, they're able to function much more better. If you're taking in lots of water and hydrating it well, the muscles are much more flexible to be able to work as they should. Now there's an interesting thing. We are in Ghana. We've got abundance of sunlight. Yeah. Our dark skin can, our skins can produce vitamin D for us. But if I may ask you, how much vitamin D did you get yesterday, and today how much would you get? That's a problem, because we're already locked up in under the roofs. Exactly, and you're always in long sleeves and you're in air conditioned. So for example, you may be deficient in vitamin D. And your muscles are craving for that. So it's a must to consume vitamin D. Yes, and how do you consume it? Being in sunlight. Yeah. I would not be an advocate for supplements now. I mean, we've got an abundance of it. We're not in winter. Yeah. So as much as possible, if you could get enough exposure to the sun, that would help you, create a lot of vitamin D, which will now help with the integrity of the bones itself, because if you're eating foods rich in calcium, that will also help bind it and give you lots of, give you good bone cells, which will make it stronger to withstand the pulls on the muscle and from the muscles. And then also vitamin D will also help with the mechanism of the muscle activity. And then again, exercise. Okay, yeah. I knew you'd find it with some in there. Of course, I cannot talk about posture without bringing in exercise. I would say this. If you're someone who is assumed a bad posture for a while and it's caused issues in your spine, do not, give up. I mean, there's still hope. With certain exercises targeted individually to you, you'll be able to cause little changes. Or if not, better still, you'll be able to stop the progression of it worsening. Exactly. So when it comes to exercise, it's really good that you're able to huff and puff to be able to have blood pushing and running through the muscles and into the bone, nourishing them well, and you're getting rid of any lactic acid buildup in the muscles. That would also help ensure that you're able to maintain your posture. And then you would also want to say that if you're someone who has any scoliosis, there are specific exercises that could be done to also help with the correction of it without needing surgery.
That we should be careful the type of exercises we do.
Exactly. It's the weights, because he needed muscles, and now his back was hurting. And what was missing was he was not stretching out these muscles well for them to be ready for the exercises he was going to do. So in this case, when he's strengthening something that's already dysfunctional, eventually it's going to bring up, cause pain.
That would be difficult to even do that. It would be difficult. Now, let's talk about children. Let's focus more on children. It's sometimes you don't get to realize what your son or your daughter is going through until they are a bit old, then start to show. Like you mentioned, if you don't bend them, to see whether the spine is straight or is curved, you would never see until they start growing, and then the waist start bent and you realize it's scoliosis and all that. What should be the regular checkup or the regular thing we do on our kids to see whether they are okay or not, or whether their posture is good or not?
Okay. This is what I would advise. I mean, for the kids, if any child of yours is complaining of back pain, please pay attention. Children are always active. So for them to really bring out that complaint, perhaps there's something going on. Don't take it to be as laziness. Don't take it to be like as your childhood, you fell from a tree and so you used to have backache. No. Just try and find out what is going on wrong with the child. When that happens, either you get them checked out by a professional, or you could do it so yourself. And that requires you, just, like when they are bathing or when you're bathing them, just look out for certain signs. Is there any distortion in their backs? Is there any shoulder, one higher than the other? Especially when the children begin to tiptoe unnecessarily. I mean, you didn't really realize that from the onset. All of a sudden, they are tiptoeing. Or you begin to realize that, okay, one scapula seems to be jutting out more than the other. That should give you an indication that there's something that's going on wrong in their spine, and perhaps either their posture is affecting them. Another thing to have realized is kids too are having issues today with lack of exposure to sunlight. So they are not building as strong bones as we used to, or maybe I would say when we used to climb trees and run around and have PE time in the sun, in sweat. A few parents get a little bit more protective. So the children go to school, they come back in air conditioning cans, they stay indoors, they are on their tablets all day doing that. You are setting them up.
Neck comes in as well.
Exactly. And children are ever growing. They are growing by the minute. So whatever they assume most time will be what would be with them when they get to adulthood. So if you're a mom out there, pay attention to your kids. How they sit in the sofa when they are watching their cartoons, how they will sit at the dining table when they are eating, how they are reading or doing their online school, or even when they go to school and they are coming back. The backpacks, how loaded are they? How loaded are they?
Some look like, I don't want to say, but like...
I must mention this controversial issue here. I've seen some parents give their children trolley bags.
For what? For the lunch and the books and all that?
I mean, for them, they are averting poor posture by having them wear the rucksacks with the bags at the back.
Is that not better than the...
That's better, actually. Because if they are wearing it on both sides, then you're giving equal load on the shoulders and on the spine.
So the backpack is rather better?
It's better. Just do not load it too much.
Okay.
Okay, and then someone may ask, what's too much? Just about 20% of your child's weight is enough. But then when they have it with the trolleys, they tend to use one side more. And children are children. They always reach out for their dominant side, which could cause a tilt or a curve in their spine. So if you have a trolley for your kid, maybe you should just think about changing it over.
I remember back in school, back in the days when the one hand bag.
Yeah, it was swag.
It was swag. We loved it. We liked to wear it.
Exactly.
But then after a month and two, you feel the pains. You realize you are tilting.
You are tilting towards that side. Yes,
you are.
Exactly.
And people have to stop using it quickly.
Yeah.
So this is a very good advice.
Yes.
Let's talk about the aged.
Well,
we know that naturally people grow, bones become weak,
yes,
and we bend and all that.
Yes.
How do we stay healthy?
For them, this is what I'll say. Yes, they've grown. Yes, they've been in certain postures for a very long time, but that still does not give them the excuse to assume anything. So if it also behoves on them that if you have mobile phones now, and you're just trying to see which grandson of yours was trying to call you, I mean, trying as much as possible to bring the phone to your eye level.
But you see, sometimes because of their sight, the problem with them, the short sight and long sight and all that.
Yeah.
You're
Oh yes, but I mean, you could still be long-sighted or short-sighted, but instead of you bending down and giving issues to your neck, why don't you bring it up? When you are seated and you want to watch TV, do not go for the sofas. This will be a big advice to the aged. Try and get a very rigid
from
chair.
What age are we talking about? The 50, the 40,
well,
the
let's
60s?
talk about the pensioners.
The pensioners?
Yes, or
60
maybe
upwards.
or 55 upwards.
Okay.
If you want to watch TV and you know your sofa is too soft, it will not be a good support for you. So at best, get a very firm chair that you know you'll be seated on very upright, and then sit to watch. Now that may be a little bit uncomfortable, and when that happens, it will urge you to get up and walk around a bit more instead of just sitting down in the sofa, comfortably in the seat, in the sofa. So in that way, you'll be able to move in around more, so you're not stuck with sitting. Because of the pensioners, I mean, if you don't have any activity going on, sometimes they tend to get a little bit or get into a very lazy mood.
That's a relaxing time for them,
exactly.
After all the hard work. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, for them to, and for even all of us, I would say this. If you are sleeping, your mattress too, because sleep too can affect your posture in a way. It's best that you get a firm bed that will support your body and not necessarily, just provide just comfort. Because if you're causing kinks in your spine when you are sleeping on a very soft bed, it's bound to cause issues eventually. Or for those who are like, well, my back aches, so I'm going to sleep on the floor. Just for temporarily, it's going to give you some relief.
Yeah.
But after a while, it's going to cause issues because your shoulder, all right, is there, your hip is there, but there's this gap in here. So whilst you're on that hard surface, you have that tendency to cause a kink in the middle portion of your spine. That could give you issues.
These are all, should I say, parts of the conversation I wanted to take a look at it broadly the next time you come on here, especially the technique. Because right now, everybody's walking and texting like this. Either on the PC while they are typing or walking and texting and watching their phones. Yes, that is quite serious. And
it's
you know how
serious.
it goes a long way to affect the neck, the spine, and your whole body structure. That's a very big deal.
And one big advice I'd give to you, even for you, all right, would be if you want to look on your phone, bring it up. If you feel like your arm is beginning to hurt, that could give you more macho.
Okay, I like that. So we're here with Dr. Efua J. Kwesi, who is from spine. She's a spine physician, MD, DC, and also medical doctor, chiropractor at World Spine Care, car and lead clinician at Oak Wellness Hub.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yes.
Clinician at Oak Wellness Hub.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming this morning.
Thank you so much.
I'll be talking about the posture and the spine. Quite interesting conversation. I'm still going to talk about the men. Walk well. Don't walk in and talking and talking. Okay, your libido might be affected. We'll be back here with more on this morning. Don't go nowhere. Stay with us.